Given the shocking success of my Wing Zero is Horrifying video, I figured that there would be a necessary follow-up. Now granted, there's quite a few mobile suits out there that are deserving of one of these videos. We have ones planned on the Devil Gundam, the Barbatos, and even the Turn A, believe it or not. The thing is, if you're gonna do Wing Zero, you might as well do its sibling of sorts in the Epion Gundam. So let's talk a bit about Big Red here. So, just as a quick reminder, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, especially if you have seen content like mine before but haven't made the commitment yet. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. My editor and I have some good stuff in the pipeline. Also, consider this video a supplement to the Wing Zero video, because this one might be a little shorter. But anyway, the Epion Gundam. This one's an interesting beast because some people might dismiss it as Wing Zero but melee, or a Gundam with a Goof's weapons. There's a bit more to it than that. So the creation of this machine actually has its roots early in Gundam Wing. Treize Khushrenada, leader of the Special Forces Oz group, was looking to build a Gundam of his own to fight back against the Gundam pilots early on within Gundam Wing. The Gundanium shipment that Hiro destroys early in the show? Well, that's what that was for. The thing is, Treize's vision for what this mobile suit would be wouldn't come in until later on. Now, I could do an entire video on the philosophy of Treize Khushrenada. In fact, I plan on it. He's my favorite antagonist in the entirety of Gundam, largely because he's not driven by anything like revenge or wanting someone to love, but rather purely by the belief that his philosophy is the correct one. To put it frankly, Treize Khushrenada is who Lelouch v. Britannia wanted to be when he grew up. He's incredible at what he does. Now, the thing about the Epion Gundam is to understand this machine is to understand Treize's way of thinking. Treize's approach to war could best be described as honor at all costs. His philosophy on war is that if you truly believe something, if you're going to be an honorable person, you need to be prepared to do two things. The first, you need to be prepared to kill for what you believe. The second, you need to be prepared to die for it. Now, the Melvins among us will probably say, well, duh, isn't that how wars are? Well, Melvin, since you watch too much shitty Gundam Seed and not enough peak Gundam Wing, you forget that the context of Treize as a character is very important. He resigns his position within the aristocratic Romefeller Foundation because they want to use mobile dolls, basically combat drones, to win wars instead of putting themselves on the line for what they believe, which is something that he finds very disgusting. So how does this factor into the Epion? Well, between its heat rod and massive beam saber, you'll notice this thing only uses close combat weaponry. Even in mobile armor mode, it can only attack with its heat rod. Well, why is this? Because Treize's idea is that you need to understand the weight of what you're doing. You need to be willing to get in close and kill the other guy, not sit at range and be detached from the situation. What makes it so much worse is what happens when you do it, when you do kill the other guy. You see, the Epion has a cockpit system like the Zero system called, well, the Epion system. And it does a lot of the same things that Wing Zero does, feeds in combat data to the pilot, acting effectively as a second brain and a probability engine. But the Epion system has a bit of an adjustment in it. You see, what the Epion system would do is show you the face of the person you're about to kill. You see the fear in their eyes. You see them screaming. The realization that it doesn't matter that you were the prom king and your date went down faster than your mother after I paid her a compliment. You are about to fucking die in a battleground far away from home, and since mobile suits tend to explode, they won't even be able to fit you in a shoebox for a proper burial. And you, as the pilot, get to see all of those emotions, all of the fear in their eyes, the last gasp of life that they have before you destroy them. That's your experience with everybody you kill, provided they're not a mobile doll. Now, I've met a lot of war veterans in my life, some of whom I actually went to school with. One thing that I've noticed is that some of the most traumatized guys were ones who had to kill someone in very close quarters. They effectively had to see somebody bleed out and die right in front of them, and experience the look in their eyes as that life escapes into the afterlife. The Epion does not allow you to avoid that experience at all. You are going to confront exactly what it means to kill for what you believe in. You are going to confront what you need to do to win the fight. That's why Treize tells Hiro not really to worry so much about winning the battle when he first pilots the Epion, but rather to understand what it means to fight, and that you have to be a loser to pilot it, because you're not going to feel like the same person after you leave it. You're not going to feel like you won anything. When Hiro Yui first used this suit, it emotionally broke him. Keep in mind how traumatized he was from the death of the little girl up on the colonies when he destroyed an Oz base. How killing makes him relive that moment. In fact, he actually asks Wu Fei in Endless Waltz, how many times am I going to have to kill that girl over and over again? Now, imagine that you're reliving that trauma on top of the dead literally screaming at you as you kill them. Fuck, I'd be broken too. Even more so, it seems to be just as capable of showing the future as Wing Zero is. One thing we see with Zechs Marquise is that once he gets his hands on Epion, he ends up leading the colony rebel group known as White Fang. With them, his goal becomes that of starting a war that's basically going to get people to realize that war sucks, the way that humanity is starting to go in regards to war is fucking terrible, and we should abandon all this nonsense. Now, considering we saw him use a colony-sized super space laser to blow a chunk out of the planet, plus all the other stuff that happened during the Eve Wars, it makes you think, what the fuck did he see? Hiro hints that he chose a future that Zero had shown him, and that Zechs might have been doing the same thing with Epion. This is another layer of terror to this suit, because what they might have been doing is manipulating a war, and all of humanity along with it. The idea of two giant robots with probability engines inside of them, predicting and maneuvering key players into the exact roles that would bring about the end of war, is kind of wild to think about. I mean, it took a man in Zechs Marquise, and it turned him into Milliardo Peacecraft, who came across like he was completely and totally prepared to genocide all of Earth just to bring an end to war. And a big red robot might have been what drove him to do it. Given how the Epion looks, you could almost say the devil made him do it. Either way, the thing that makes Epion so interesting to me, and also what makes it the most frightening, is that it's an uncompromising machine that intends for the pilot to experience the very worst of war. And experiencing the very worst of war can drive you to do several different things. And if you sit there and say you're going to fight and kill and die for your cause, Epion looks back at you, stares right into your fucking soul, and goes, "Alright, motherfucker, bet." Though very few people have ever piloted this machine, in fact I think only 2 people did, nobody who entered its cockpit left as the same person. It's one of the coolest designs that's ever come out of Gundam, but there's something truly haunting about this devil-shaped Gundam possibly having its own vision for what the future of humanity might have been, and the fact that it was going to drag you into the very depths of the worst of war before it got there. If you enjoyed this video, once again, do not forget, like, share, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. Also consider becoming a patron or member of the channel. If you do so, you will get access to the new podcast that Shirt Dude and I are doing once we hit our member goal, and it will be fun. That much I can assure you. Oh, also, don't forget, merch. Buy yourself a shirt. We got a couple available right now, more on the way. And definitely check out the Bernard's Burger shirt. That one's my favorite for all the cursed reasons that you could expect. So, with all that said, my name is Big Micah C, your favorite vanilla gorilla, and I will see you guys next time.